Morecambe Football Club is an English football club based in Morecambe, Lancashire. It plays its football in League Two, the fourth tier of English football, having been promoted in 2007 for the first time in their history to the Football League. From 1921 to 2010, home matches were played at Christie Park. In August 2010 the club moved to their new home ground, Globe Arena. History The first years football in the town dates back to the turn of the 20th century. However, it was not until May 7, 1920 that Morecambe F.C. was formed after a meeting at the local Westview Hotel. The club then took its place in the Lancashire Combination League for the 1920 Euro 21 season. Sharing grounds with the cricket club at Woodhill Lane during the first season, football proved popular, with crowds in excess of 3,000 for derby fixtures with Lancaster City and Fleetwood Town. Although success on the field was hard to come by, with the club languishing near the bottom of the table, at the end of the first season the club moved grounds to Rosebery Park. A few years later, after the purchase of the ground by the then president, Mr. J.B. Christie, the ground's name was changed to Christie Park, in his honour. Those early seasons proved difficult, and it was not until 1924 Euro 25 that the club began to enjoy some success, claiming the league title for the first time. This was later followed by success in the Lancashire Junior Cup, beating old rivals Chorley after 2 replays, and in front of over 30,000 spectators. Mr. Christie bequeathed the ground to the club in 1927 and also helped incorporate the club into a limited company with a then share capital of £1,000. The rest of the 1920s and the whole of the 1930s saw a constant struggle to keep football alive on the northwest coast, with poor results on the field and little or no revenue off the field, a near-certain recipe for disaster. The post-war era saw an upturn in the Shrimps' fortunes with steady progress throughout the late 1940s and nearly all the 1950s, with a visible marked improvement when in 1956 Ken Horton was appointed player-manager. Whilst success was only just around the corner, the foundations for the future were being built. The Auxiliary Supporters Club had been formed, and with their help many ground improvements were undertaken, so that the on-field success dovetailed neatly with the off-field enterprise. The 14 years from 1960 could justifiably be said to be Morecambe's golden era. This included an FA Cup third-round appearance in 1961, a Euro 62, a 1-0 defeat to Weymouth, a Lancashire Senior Cup final victory in 1968, a 2-1 win over Burnley, and an FA Trophy success at Wembley in 1974, a 2-1 win over Dartford in the final. The next 12 years were as barren as any previous period in the club's history, with the Grim Reaper never far from the Christie Park door. Attendances fell from a creditable 2,000 plus to a miserable 200 minus, with a visible decline in the club fortunes during that period. However, in 1985, a Euro 86, signs of improvement appeared. The club's league position improved and cup success over the next few years filled the club with optimism. It took 10 years of continual improvement both on and off the field to reach the club's ambition of promotion to the Football Conference after many further improvements, not only to the ground but also regarding the club's structure, giving the club the opportunity to confidently look forward as one of the more progressive conference clubs. Since elevation to the conference in season 1995 a Euro 96, the Shrimps achieved status as one of the leading teams in the league. In fact, only Woking had a longer unbroken membership of the league at this time. Runners-up spot was claimed on one occasion and the play-offs places were narrowly missed twice. Also during this time, the club also equalled its best appearance in the FA Cup in both 2000 a Euro 01 and 2002 a Euro 03. On both occasions the club faced Ipswich Town, losing 3 a Euro 0 and 4 a Euro 0 respectively. Morecambe also defeated a few league clubs in the FA Cup, including Cambridge United in 2000 a Euro 01 and Chesterfield in 2002 a Euro 03. In the 2005 a Euro 06 season, Morecambe reached the play-offs, but were beaten 4 a Euro 3 on aggregate by Hereford United, after a 1 a Euro 1 draw in the first leg at Christie Park. In November 2005, Jim Harvey suffered a heart attack during a league game at Christie Park against Cambridge United. quickly the club declared the appointment of a caretaker manager, Sammy McElroy, a longtime friend of Harvey. After McElroy's initial 3-month stint as caretaker expired, he was given the job for the remainder of the season, with Harvey expected to return on its closure. However, on his first day back as manager of Morecambe, Harvey was sacked by the club and McElroy was appointed as permanent manager with Mark Lillis as his assistant. This caused a feud between longtime friends Harvey and McElroy, which has not been reconciled to this day. Morecambe were promoted to the Football League for the first time in their history after winning the conference playoff final, beating Exeter City 2-1 at Wembley on May 20, 2007, in front of over 40,000 fans, which followed their semi-final victory over York City. On July 17, 2007, Morecambe announced plans to move to a new stadium in time for the start of the 2009 Euro 10 season. Work did not commence on the proposed site until spring 2009, with an anticipated completion date of summer 2010. Morecambe played their first game in the Football League against Barnet at Christie Park in August 2007, in which they played out a 0-0 draw to secure their first ever Football League point. On August 14, 2007, Morecambe played their first fixture in the League Cup and recorded a 2-1 win against near neighbours Preston North End at Deepdale, with Jim Bentley and David Artell scoring for Morecambe. The Shrimps compounded this result with another upset win over a Championship side, a 3-1 win over Wolverhampton Wanderers on August 28 to advance into the third round of the League Cup, in which they faced a third consecutive Championship side, Sheffield United. However, Morecambe lost 5-0. They finished their first season in League Two in 11th place with 60 points. They also finished the 2008 Euro 09 season in 11th, this time with 63 points. 2009 Euro 10 was Morecambe's last season at Christie Park. They finished the season in 4th place, qualifying for the playoffs, where they lost 7 Euro 2 on aggregate to Dagenham and Redbridge. On August 10, 2010, Morecambe played their first match at the Globe Arena against Championship side Coventry City in the League Cup first round. Morecambe secured a 2-0 win, with Andy Fleming scoring the first 2 goals at the stadium. This earned Morecambe a Lancashire derby in the second round against another Championship side, Burnley, where they lost 3-1. On May 9, 2011, Morecambe manager Sammy McElroy left the club by mutual consent after 5 years at the helm. McElroy, who took over as manager from Jim Harvey, had left the club alongside assistant Mark Lillis. Morecambe chairman Peter McGuigan praised the pair for their efforts since taking over, describing McElroy as the best manager in his reign at the club. On May 13, 2011, just 4 days after McElroy left, Morecambe Football Club announced that Jim Bentley would be their next manager, signing a 2-year deal as player-manager. Sammy McElroy era McElroy took over the Shrimps initially as caretaker manager on November 17, 2005, after Jim Harvey had suffered a heart attack. In the absence of Harvey, Morecambe reached the conference playoffs. They lost to Hereford for a Euro 3 on aggregate, but this was a fantastic achievement for McElroy, who was appointed permanent in May 2006. This was to be a wise appointment, as McElroy guided the club to League Two for the first time in their history with a 2-1 win over Exeter City at Wembley Stadium. In their first season in the league, the Shrimps finished a very respectable 11th, and managed to beat Preston North End and Wolverhampton Wanderers 2-1 and 3-1 in the English League Cup respectively. In the 2008 Euro 09 season, Morecambe finished 11th yet again. The 2009 Euro 10 season was to be Morecambe's last at Christie Park, the club's home for 89 years. They surpassed every pundit's predictions to finish 4th, and earn the chance to participate in the League Two playoffs. However, they lost 7-2 on aggregate to Dagenham and Redbridge. A 6-0 battering at Victoria Road made the second leg almost meaningless, but McElroy encouraged his team to a 2-1 win in the last ever game at Christie Park. The Shrimps then moved on to their first season at the Globe Arena, however it was a disappointing one. They finished 20th, only 4 points above the relegation zone. On May 9, 2011, McElroy left the club by mutual consent. Jim Bentley era On May 13, 2011, Bentley was appointed manager on a 2-year contract. His first game as a professional manager was a 1-0 defeat at home to Barnet. The Shrimps then went on a run of 4 wins in all competitions, including a 2-0 victory over Barnsley in the League Cup. After his first 9 games in charge, Morecambe sat top of the league after winning 6, drawing 2 and losing just once. Morecambe were credited for their defence at this time, after conceding just 5 goals in 9 games. However, this didn't last, as a poor end to the season led to Morecambe finishing 15th in League Two, an improvement on the previous season. Jim Bentley's second season began with a 3-0 win over Exeter City. However, inconsistent performances once again resulted in them slipping into mid-table. 2007 Conference Playoff Final. On May 20, 2007, Morecambe faced Exeter City at Wembley for a place in the Football League. The Shrimps had never previously been promoted to such a high level. A late Danny Carlton winner sent the Seasiders up. Managers, since 1947 to present. Players. Current squad. Note, flags indicate national team as defined under FIFA eligibility rules. Players may hold more than one non-FIFA nationality. Rivalry. Morecambe have always had a bitter rivalry with Lancashire neighbours Accrington Stanley. The Shrimps had never beaten Axie in the Football League since their promotion in 2007, even after 16 attempts, until Aaron Wildig's goal gave them a 1-0 win over their rivals in August 2015. Morecambe's other rival teams include Lancaster City, Fleetwood Town, Barrow, Southport and Bradford City. Mascot. The Shrimps' mascot is Christie the Cat. The cat was named after Morecambe's old stadium, Christie Park. The cat, a good chum of all the Shrimps fans, was adopted by the home fans after being unveiled a few seasons ago. He once had an infamous friendly altercation with Dagenham and Redbridge goalkeeper Tony Roberts for which he was sent off, despite it being started by Roberts himself. Christie is now a regular at the Globe Arena, after reappearing following his theft after the last game at Christie Park. A member of the public came into the Globe and offered Christie the cat for sale to the club. After a short time waiting, the nice policeman explained to the member of the public, he was going home empty-handed and congratulated for his community spirit. League honours, Conference National, runners-up, 2002 Euro 03, playoff winners, 2006 Euro 07. Northern Premier League, runners-up, 1994 Euro 95. Lancashire Combination, champions, 1924 Euro 25, 1961 Euro 62, 1962 Euro 63, 1966 Euro 67, 1967 Euro 68, runners-up, 1925 Euro 26. Cup honours, FA Trophy, winners, 1973 Euro 74. Conference League Cup, winners, 1997-78. Northern Premier League President's Cup, winners, 1991 Euro 92. Lancashire Senior Cup, winners, 1967 Euro 68. Lancashire FA Challenge Trophy, winners, 1925 Euro 26, 1926 Euro 27, 1961 Euro 62, 1962 Euro 63, 1968 Euro 69, 1985 Euro 86, 1986 Euro 87, 1993 Euro 94, 1995 Euro 96, 1998 Euro 99, 2003 Euro 04. Lancashire Combination Cup, winners, 1926 Euro 27, 1945 Euro 46, 1964 Euro 65, 1966 Euro 67, 1967 Euro 68. Best performances, Football League 2, 4th place, 2009 Euro 10. Conference National, Playoff Final winners, 2006-07. FA Cup, 3rd round, 1961 Euro 62, 2000 Euro 01, 2002 Euro 03. Football League Cup, 3rd round, 2007 Euro 08. References. External links: Morecambe FC official site, Morecambe FC match reports, team news, video clips and daily updates of all the Shrimps news. Morecambe Visitor newspaper online, Morecambe FC coverage. Lancaster and Morecambe Citizen, Morecambe Stadium, Morecambe FC Google+.